Hey guys, and welcome back to Semojo Homestead. Today we are making homemade apple scrap vinegar. This is a great idea because it's a way to save money on your grocery bill. And who doesn't want to do that, right? Now this is a little bit different than apple cider vinegar because true apple cider vinegar is made from apple cider. You make the apple cider and then you make the vinegar. We're not going through all that process today. We are just gonna do apple scrap vinegar, which still is a really good vinegar, not quite the same acidity level as apple cider vinegar, which basically just means it doesn't have quite as much tang. But as you'll see later on, you can control that if you like a tangier vinegar. One more note before we get started, I will leave the ratios down in the description so that you can work off of that. Now, all of this is definitely based on ratio, but it's super easy. So let's get started. I am making applesauce with apples that we have in abundance that we're trying to use up. These are still left over from when we went apple picking a few weeks ago. So they are just a mixture of apples, and all I'm doing is coring them and peeling them to make the applesauce. So what we're gonna do is take the core and the peeling. So basically all of the scraps, core, peeling, haven't quite peeled this one yet. And we're just throwing it into a bowl. Now, one thing that is very, very important, regardless of what you're doing in the kitchen, but especially with canning and making vinegars, is making sure everything is clean. You want as sterile as possible of an environment. I'm using a glass bowl and our knives, which have been washed. Obviously, clean hands. But keeping everything as condensed and concise as possible, just because you don't want to risk any bad bacteria or anything else getting into the vinegar, which will spoil it. So this is a very, very basic vinegar. Really, all it is are your apple scraps, water, and sugar. And you're gonna combine those, and then you're going to put them into a jar. You don't want to use metal when you're making vinegar because that acidity can react with the metal and just ruins the taste and everything else. So we're going to use glass jars, maybe one jar, we'll see if we have one big enough, and combine the water and the sugar and then put that in there. And then we just let it sit. You keep it in a warm, dark place and you let it sit for about 2 weeks, lightly covered. We will probably use a coffee filter and just put a rubber band around the top of it to hold it on. You want it to be able to breathe. Anytime you ferment anything, it is going to release gases, which can build up pressure if it can't be released. But you also want to cover it so that it doesn't get just the surrounding air, the atmosphere able to get to it, because that can introduce bad bacteria as well. Now, sometimes you may get sort of a unpleasant like film on the top. Perfectly fine, you just scrape it off, try to get it off as best you can without disturbing the rest of it, and let it continue to go. So after it sits for 2 weeks, you're going to strain it off so you get everything out, so you just have the liquid. It's not ready yet. You can either throw those out or you can feed them to your chickens, which is what we do. Having them in that partial fermented process, it will help to add just beneficial bacteria into their gut and promote good health. And then you're gonna take your strained liquid, so the plain liquid, and put it back into a jar, cover it, same process, and let it sit another 2 weeks. This is when you're really gonna start to get that acidity built up. This is when you are developing that kind of tang in there. Now, if 2 weeks isn't long enough, then continue to let it sit. Basically, when this thing's done, it's not gonna go bad. It's really easy to keep. Now, we do keep ours in the refrigerator just as a kind of extra measure to make sure it doesn't go bad. But from what I've heard, you really don't have to even do that. Now, putting it in the refrigerator does stop that fermentation process. If you're just gonna keep it in the pantry without canning it or anything, it could continue to ferment. So you're definitely gonna wanna either have it in something that can breathe, or you're gonna need to burp it. Basically loosen the lid every now and then because it can bust a jar and build up that much pressure. And for the most part, fermentation is really gonna slow down once those apple pieces are removed. Now, if you do get like this kind of blob thing in there, that's a great thing. It doesn't always happen, but that's what is called the mother. So if you've ever gotten apple cider vinegar at the store and it says like apple cider vinegar with the mother, that's what that is. And you can use that to kind of jumpstart your next batch. So this is something that's really easy, and we have done it in the past. Our oldest daughter, Selah, actually found this book at, I'm not even sure where it was. I mean, I think it was at like the store or something, and just gravitated to it, desperately wanted it. So she was with my wife, so Cass bought it for her, and it's a zero waste kitchen book. For some reason, like it just caught her attention and she became obsessed with it, and she is still obsessed with it. So we've been really trying to promote that. And I mean, overall, we do try to do as little waste as possible. And this just talks about how you can use all of your scraps and minimize the waste that you produce in the kitchen. And this is just one more way that you can save a little bit of money on your grocery bill. You know, if you're getting apples, you're gonna have the scrap. Nobody eats the core, right? You're gonna be throwing them away anyway. Why not use them to make another product that you could use? Now, apple scrap vinegar is good in salad dressings. You don't wanna use it in canning because the acidity level is not gonna be high enough. But it's like a vinaigrette or something like that. Anything else that you may want a mild vinegar for, this works beautifully for that. And I mean, what's better than things that come straight out of your kitchen, right? You're saving waste and you're saving money. So what's not to like about this? If you have made it, we'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment down below. If you've got questions on how to make this work, then let us know. Also, if you like this material, like the recipes or anything like this, or just tips on how to save money, give it a thumbs up. We like that. If you really want to help us out, share it on your social media, or if you know a friend that may be interested in this, definitely share with them. I hope you go and try this. At least give it a try, even if it's a small batch. See what you think. See if you like it. See if it's something that it would be beneficial for you. So that wraps it up. Really easy, right? We did have one dark jar, which will help keep sunlight out. The other one that I had to use is just a regular half-gallon mason jar. But what I'm gonna do is wrap a towel around that, which will keep the sunlight out, and we're gonna put it next to our stove because that's probably the warmest spot in our house for this stuff. So thank you guys for joining me. Hope you have a great week and be blessed.